So if you haven't been living under a rock or in a fantasy world or in denial, then you have experienced that there's a lot of things going on in the world today. A lot of many crises converging all at one time. It's challenging. There's many crises converging all at one time. And as spiritual seekers, we tend to have a couple of different ways that we approach these challenges. One is denial, that it's even happening, and we get lost in kind of fantasies that it's the Great Awakening. It's all happening because of the Great Awakening. And some people think it's all happening because of the end times. It's the end times. So most people in spiritual communities today are looking for it's happening because of the Great Awakening. It's leading to this great ascensions where all humanity is going to ascend. So this is the way of getting lost in fantasies and beliefs and hiding, denying what's going on and choosing to believe this or conspiracy theories or something else like that in order to deny the reality of what's going, because it's kind of depressing, it's challenging to see this. And the other people that are a little more rational, a little more sane, see what's happening, and it's very, very upsetting, and it's bringing a lot of despair and depression and fear and anger and all that, to see these multiple crises that are all converging at one time. Climate change, the end of democracy in the United States and other countries, this threatening that we've never seen in the United States, a threat against our democracy like this before. This is totally new. Very upsetting if you're aware of what's going on, because the democracy, we kind of liked it. It was working pretty well. And now, little by little, all that's being stripped away. And now we have a pandemic. In addition to all that, there's a worldwide pandemic with a virus that we have never experienced before. This hasn't happened in 100 years. So all these things are coming together. And then people have their individual struggles. They've lost their jobs. They've lost loved ones. Challenges. They've lost friends. So a lot of challenges are happening at one time. So if you don't go into denial and you don't go into fantasies about how it's all happening because of this great awakening that's going to come, or some other fantasy or conspiracy theories, then you have to deal with what's happening, and it's upsetting, it's depressing, and it's hard. It creates a lot of despair for people. So that's basically the two ways that people in spiritual communities kind of deal with the crisis that we're going through now and other crises. And there's another way that I suggest, which is to accept what is, because those two ways are both resistance. Denial and fantasy, getting lost in conspiracy theories and spiritual fantasies about this great awakening that's going to come, which so many people believe, because it makes it easier, right? We can go into denial and believe it's all about a great awakening, and we don't have to really see what's going on. Because if we really see what's going on, it's very depressing, and we don't want that. It might fill us with fear and despair and things. And the people who are seeing what is, then they're denying, they're resisting because they're afraid and they're in despair, because what they're saying is, I see what is, but I don't want it to be this way. I see what is, but I wish it were different. I really, really wish it were different. I really, really wish we didn't have a president in the United States that is dismantling democracy and an attorney general that's helping him and, making it difficult for people to vote and really just basically trying to end our democracy, in favor of them, trying to make a kingship or a dictatorship. So we wish it weren't like that. We wish there were a different president, or he would behave himself in a different way and wouldn't do the things he's doing. We wish that there weren't climate change, and that the wildfires wouldn't be spreading throughout the West Coast and throughout California. We wish that there weren't a pandemic and we could meet with people and hug each other and not have to social distance and not have to wear masks. You know, we wish it were different than it is. Of course, we all do that. We all wish it were different. Nobody wants it to be the way it is. But wishing it to be different doesn't help us. It just makes us unhappy. It just brings us into despair. It just brings us into fear. Because it is the way it is. It is the way it is. It is what it is. And if we accept what is, we don't have to run away into fantasies and beliefs that like, oh, it's all wonderful, it's all good, it's all just ushering in the great awakening of humanity. There's no evidence of that at all. In fact, if anything, people are becoming more unconscious and less awake than they were before, particularly the people that think that they are being awake. They're the most unawake of all. You know, it's incredible. People believe these conspiracy theories and things like that. It's amazing the things that people will believe now. So that's what's going on in the world, you know, and our resistance to it, either we go into a fantasy world or we go into despair and fear. Neither of these are very intelligent choices. They're not very useful choices. They're not very effective choices. They're not very beneficial choices. But if we accept what is, and just accept what is, exactly as it is, not creating fantasies about it, not creating beliefs or things to make it easier, just accept what is. Yes, these things are happening. Yes, they are happening. And our wishing isn't going to make them different. Our wishing isn't going to make them change. There's actions we can take to help make a change in a positive direction. Yes, there are actions. But first we have to accept what really is. Only then do we know what actions we can really take that are useful and helpful. So both ways, being lost in a fantasy and thinking it's all okay, might make us feel a little better temporarily, but not for long, because the reality is going to eventually, you know, come into our fantasy world and puncture it, as it always does. We can only hold on a fantasy for so long. Eventually we have to see, no, this is not the great ascension. People are not waking up. Some people are, but no more than usual. It's not I'm trying to fix this microphone. It's a new microphone I have. Hopefully it works better than the other ones did. So it's not, our fantasies are not going to help us. Eventually, you know, life is just going to prick that bubble of fantasy and pop it. And then we're going to be in despair ourselves, very disappointed. Oh my God, why was I believing this? This isn't true at all. No, it's not. It's a fantasy. It's just a belief. It has nothing to do with reality at all. Not in any way does it have anything to do with reality. There's no evidence that there's this great ascension, this great awakening that's happening, of people moving into the fifth dimension. There's no evidence of that at all. Yes, people are waking up. It has nothing to do with what you think. Nothing to do with what you think at all. Nothing to do with what you believe. The beliefs are a fantasy. They're denial of reality. And for everyone that's living in despair and wishing things weren't, that's another resistance, because things are what they are. Your wishing that they weren't doesn't change anything. So we can accept what is as it is. Just for a moment, try that. Just try accepting what it is. It's a shit show. It's a shitstorm. It is. But see if you can just accept it as it is and not wish it to be different. Just accept it. This is how it is now. It will change because everything does. Not necessarily for the better. It could be worse. But it will change because everything changes. And when we accept what is, we can see that everything's changing. And we can also see what part we play in this and what part we can play in this to make things better. So begin by accepting what is. It is what it is. Accept it as it is. See if that doesn't make you feel better right away. It is what it is. We don't need the fantasies and beliefs. Let those go. If you're believing some fantasy about the great ascension or awakening or the end times, let it go for a moment. And just accept what is in this moment. And if you're despairing and you wish things were different, just accept what is exactly as it is in this moment, because it is. See what that feels like, to accept what is. The whole secret to happiness in life is accepting what is fully, accepting and embracing what is exactly as it is. That's the secret to happiness. So try it. Why not? This is how you are happy. Not because you get things your way or things happen the way you wish they would. Not because you have some fantasy beliefs. None of that is real happiness. None of that can last. But just accept what is in this moment exactly as it is. And the next step is, what the heck is it? What the heck is it? Because we really don't know, do we? I said it's a shit show, but I don't know. I don't know what it is, really. And you don't either. We don't have to run away from something when we don't even know what it is. We don't know what it is. And as a little example, an experiment, and something that you can do, just recognize your own body seems pretty solid. You can sort of count on your own body, right? Your body, it's your body. You should be able to count on it, right? This is here. This is your body. You're familiar with it. But are you really? Are you really familiar with this body? If you really open to what is in this moment, just imagine, just try this for a moment. Take your hand, left or right hand, hold it up in front of you, close your eyes. How do you know that you have a hand? Seems like an obvious answer, right? Because I do. I have a hand. That's your conditioning, isn't it? You know the word hand. You've been conditioned to believe that you have a hand. You have previous experiences and memories that you have a hand. But for a moment, what if you didn't have anything from the past? What if just in this moment, and you didn't know what the word hand was, or body? How would you know that you had a hand, what we're calling a hand, if you didn't know what hand was? You didn't have any previous experiences of hand. How would you know? In this moment, in reality, what is here with your eyes closed? There's a sensation, isn't there? There's a feeling. You may feel it in other parts of your body, but also in your hand, if you bring your attention to that part. A sensation, a feeling, without knowing the word hand, without using any names, without any memory, just in this moment, reality. There's a feeling, there's a sensation. And that's true, isn't it? That sensation, that experience that you're having right now, that's real. That's true. But you don't know what that is. Even to call it sensation is too much. You don't know. And the more you don't know, the more you can let go of your conditioning and actually be present. Actually be present to truth. Not with thoughts, not with memories, not with previous experiences, but this experience, without adding anything to it. This experience. So the truth is, what the heck is it? Is the only answer is, I don't know. I don't know what it is. I only know this experience. I only know this sensations. I only know this awareness. If I open my eyes and look at my hand, I know seeing, but that's all I know. I know seeing. I don't know what I'm seeing. I just know the experience of seeing, that experience of feeling a body. I know this experience. This experiencing is real. Everything else is conditioning, brainwashing that we've carried our entire life. But here I'm talking about something that's real, that's true. And if you're really honest with yourself, you have to admit that you don't know what this is. It is what it is, but you don't know what that is. If we're honest, none of us do. It just is. What are we? I don't know. It just is. What am I? I don't know. It just is. It's just being, what we call being. But we don't know what that is. It just is. Our being itself is the knowing of it. The being is the knowing of it. So we've gone from the shit show of what's going on in the world and your life, everybody's experiences of all their despair or living in fantasies of conspiracies or, great awakenings and things like that, into reality. It's a very different experience. We're not clinging to anything in reality because we don't know what it is. We wouldn't know how to cling to it. What's this body? I don't know. Is it what I think it is? No. No, I have a lot of thoughts about what it is. I studied biology, physiology. I know all that. But really, the direct experience of this body doesn't have anything to do with any of that. Even to call it pure energy isn't accurate. It's more accurate to call it consciousness. Not consciousness in a body, but the body itself. Being not separate from consciousness, nor anything else being separate from consciousness. And in that experience, all words, thoughts, descriptions, and labels dissolves, doesn't it? It just falls away. All our thoughts and conditioning just fall away. They cannot stand up to truth. They never could. It's just that our focus is so much on this dream that we don't notice the simple truth of being. The simple truth of our true nature. So what the heck is it? It's this. It's all this. It can't be other than this. And there is something truly good about this, something truly wonderful about this, but not anything that we can describe or name or even think. It just is. There's something truly wonderful about this just isness. It's important to experience this, to let go of the fantasies, let go of the conditioning, and wake up to the simple fact of being itself. Because this is what we wake up to. This is what real awakening is. Not awakening into fantasies and new beliefs, but awakening into this true nature of being, which is before conditioning, the simplest of simple. Just this, just being, just awareness itself. And even these words are far too much. It's much simpler than that. I feel like apologizing for even using words at all. I'm sorry for using words, because it's much simpler than words. Your true nature, reality, is much simpler than words. Much more present, much more real. So what does this have to do with the whole shit show of these crises and all these experiences and things that are going on in the world? Well, to begin with, we live in the world, we act in the world. And this is a dream of duality. We live in this and work in this dream of duality. But when we're awake, we're aware of truth, that this duality is a dream. And there is only this that is beyond all that. There only has ever been this. The dream is temporary. But still, in the dream, we're best off accepting what is in the dream exactly as it is. This is the best strategy, the most intelligent way to be in the world. Because it is exactly what consciousness and awareness does, isn't it? It doesn't resist anything. It can't resist anything. How could awareness resist something? If it resisted something, we couldn't be aware of it. It doesn't resist anything, ever. Never has. It's not in its nature to resist anything. So it's not in your nature, not in your true nature, to resist anything at all. So when we practice accepting what is, opening to what is, we're opening the door to truth, to reality, to what we are. And because we're living in this world of a dream, of duality, of name and form, we know what to do when we accept what is. We know how to act in this world. Not by any philosophy or anything like that. We just know. Accepting what is, the things we need to do present themselves to us. To all of us when we do this. And we can act skillfully in the world without us doing anything, without us being a doer. We let this reality acts in the world. And it does, just as it's doing right now. So accepting what is exactly as it is a doorway into opening and awakening and enlightenment in our true nature and truth. It's the most important thing we can really do. It's the only way that we can really be happy in life, by not resisting it. Of course, resisting it is just going to make us miserable. And hiding from it in fantasies might give us some temporary belief if the fantasy is very pleasant, but not for long. Just as when you go to sleep at night, you could have a nice dream. Sometimes a nightmare, but sometimes a nice dream. And oh, I love this nice dream. I hope I can stay in this nice dream forever. It's so wonderful. You might wake up and say, I want to go back to the nice dream. But it's temporary. You can't. You have to wake up to reality. You're always going to wake up to reality. No matter how you try and put fantasies in the way and sort of paint reality in this, way that you want it to be, this paint by numbers sort of a thing of trying to adjust reality to the way you want it to be by believing in fantasies. It doesn't work. It's just an illusion. It's just a dream. Likewise, when you see things as they are and feel, I want it to be different. Why does it have to be this way? It shouldn't be this way. That's also a dream. You're saying that something that is shouldn't be as it is. It's a dream. It is. How can it be other than it is? It is. It can't be other than it is. It is what it is. So only by accepting what is can you live in reality. Even in the dream reality, you have to accept what is in this dream in order to be in reality. Otherwise, you're in a fantasy. Whether you see it and you don't like it and you want it to be different, that's a fantasy. It is what it is. Or you deny that it's even happening and paint it with some prettier colors so that it looks like it's something else, like a great awakening or something. That's a dream too. That's an illusion. That's a fantasy. It's not reality. And what you really want, what everybody wants, every spiritual seeker but everybody else, we really want truth. We want to find happiness and peace and love that doesn't change, that doesn't come and go. We want to find the source of that, the source of truth, the source of freedom. We all want this. But we cannot find it in a dream. We cannot find it in an illusion. It can only be found in truth. And it begins by accepting what is exactly as it is, whatever it is. Anger, fear, despair experience, accept it as it is. Accept that's what you're experiencing. Why? You'll find out. Because you won't accept what is. That's why you're feeling anger, fear, despair. Because you won't accept what is. That's why you're experiencing that. As soon as you accept what is, those feelings go away. And you just feel relief. And the more you accept what is, the deeper you accept what is, the more it teaches you, the more you start learning what life really is, beyond a dream, beyond all your conditioning. And eventually you realize that you don't know with your mind what any of this is. Your mind is just filled with conditioning. It's just a dream. All your thoughts and knowledge are just a dream. All your spiritual thoughts and knowledge are just a dream. They're just illusion. Even the ones that talk about non-duality are still duality. They're using words. That's the giveaway. Their thoughts, that's a giveaway. As long as they're thoughts, as long as they're words, they're not real. They're not true. They're duality. They're an illusion. But when you accept what is, you begin to let go of that dream, let go of those illusions, let go of those words and thoughts, let go of that spiritual knowledge and spiritual beliefs. Let it all go. And just feel what's here now, in this only moment that can ever exist. What's here now? And in the beginning, yes, you'll have many thoughts about what's here now, but that's never what's here now. Eventually, you'll let go of those thoughts and you'll be able to directly experience what is here now. It's not a thought. It's not a word. There's nothing that can be said about it. It is what it is. And we don't know what the heck that is. But when we open to presence, when we open to this moment, when we let go of all our thoughts and conditioning, and simply be, that's what it is. And that's wonderful. It just feels wonderful to just be. It just feels wonderful. Why? Well, there's no reason. Any reason would just be another thought. It's totally irrelevant. Anything we think is completely irrelevant. It just is. It just is. Thank you, my friend. Oh, if you want to come to the Zoom thing at 8, there's a password. It's the Zoom meeting room is 983-208-8996. And if you come that way, there's a password that's 445566. Very simple, just 445566 that you have to put in. Otherwise, on my Facebook channel and also in the on the website, there are ways to have there's a direct link to it. You don't need to put in the password when you have a direct link. But Zoom changed some things, so if you want to come and experience more of this, or ask questions about it, or find out more about it, you're welcome to do that in Zoom. I'll keep that room open for a little bit after this. It starts at an hour after this, so it's 8 p.m. Thank you, my friend.